Also listened to part of an interview that Brandon Tatum did with one of Nolan's friends, and here's how Nolan's stepfather responded to it.
You heard that kid Trace in the interview say that he was friends with Nolan and that you guys would know him. Do you know him? Do you recognize him?
No, I don't. Just because you park your vehicle in someone's yard doesn't mean that they have to know you. Sounds more to me like he's more focused on getting people to know him and getting away from the fact that his so-called best friend is not here anymore.
For weeks, everyone was talking about the audio. Everyone was talking about the FBI. Everyone was talking about the boat, the island, the friends, the threats, the theories. But there was one person at the center of this entire story who stayed silent. For days, her name was everywhere, Katie, the girl Nolan Wells was last seen talking to on Horn Island. The mystery witness whose account could unlock the final minutes of his life. Reporters dug for her identity. The internet spun theories about what she knew. Investigators reportedly reached out again and again, asking for her version of events, and through it all she said nothing. Until now, Katie has finally spoken, and what she has now revealed doesn't answer every question about what happened to Nolan Wells that night. It doesn't give his family the cause of death they've been demanding. It doesn't close the case, but it does change something critical. It changes how investigators may look at Nolan's final hours. It changes how the public should understand the timeline, and it changes the weight that certain witness accounts should carry versus others. Because what Katie is reportedly telling investigators does not match what some of Nolan's friends have been saying publicly. And when two sides of a story don't line up in a death investigation, that's when authorities start paying very close attention. Tonight, we're breaking down exactly what Katie said when she finally broke her silence, what she did not say, why investigators are treating her statement as a significant development, and how her account fits into everything else we know so far about the night Nolan Wells died on Horn Island. Stay with us, because this is where the story gets more complicated and more important.
Quick timeline. July 4th, 2026. The day everything changed. On the 4th of July, 18-year-old Nolan Wells joined a group of friends for a boat trip to Horn Island, a popular barrier island about 10 miles off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. It was supposed to be a normal Independence Day celebration. It wasn't. Nolan was last seen alive on the island around 3 p.m. that afternoon. Multiple witnesses, including his own friends, have given different accounts of what happened next. Some say he stayed on Horn Island with a girl he had been talking to. Others say he was supposed to return on the boat. What everyone agrees on is this: when the group left the island that evening, Nolan was not with them. The disappearance. Later that night, when Nolan still hadn't returned home, his mother reported him missing. She also took to social media, asking for help finding her son. Within hours, the case had exploded beyond the local community. Volunteers, boats, and multiple agencies joined the search. July 6th, 2026. Body recovered. 2 days after he was last seen, a park ranger found a body in the water near the northwest shore of Horn Island. Nolan's mother identified the remains using dental records. The search was over, but the questions were just beginning. The investigation begins. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office took the lead on the case. Sheriff John Ledbetter told reporters there was no reason to suspect foul play. Authorities believe Nolan may have drowned during the ill-fated trip, but with no official cause of death released, speculation started almost immediately. Family demands answers. Nolan's family was not satisfied with the early answers. They hired civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who has represented high-profile families in cases involving questionable deaths. Crump's team called for a thorough, independent investigation. They arranged for a private autopsy conducted by forensic pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell. The results: cause and manner of death both listed as undetermined. The state autopsy has also been completed, but officials have not publicly released the final cause of death. The case is now headed toward a grand jury referral, where prosecutors will present evidence and ask whether criminal charges should be filed. FBI involvement. Then came the FBI. The Bureau's Jackson Field office issued a public statement confirming they were investigating interstate threats made against individuals connected to the case. These threats reportedly spiked after an enhanced audio clip from a CETO emergency call went viral online. People who became convinced something criminal happened on that boat started targeting those connected to it. The threats crossed state lines, triggering federal jurisdiction. The FBI was clear. They are not leading the underlying death investigation. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office remains the lead agency. The Bureau's role is focused on protecting people connected to this case from serious threats that have gone beyond Mississippi. The viral audio controversy. Here's where the case exploded nationally. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources released a dispatch call made from the boat Nolan's friends were on around 4 p.m. on July 4th. The call was a frantic request for help. The bilge pump had failed, water was rising inside the hole, and the group was struggling to stay afloat. For days, the audio sat quietly. Then TMZ enhanced the recording and released their version. Suddenly, listeners claimed to hear specific phrases buried in the background. Is he dead? Someone calling out Nolan. A voice they're saying, check his chest, wake up. And underneath it all, the caller on the line screaming at everyone to shut up. The internet had a new theory by morning. Millions of people became convinced those 3 words proved something criminal happened in Nolan on that boat. But here's what almost nobody knew at the time. The version TMZ released runs 20 seconds longer than the original file. It has a completely different digital fingerprint. A digital forensics expert appeared on national television and said he could not corroborate a single phrase TMZ claims to hear when comparing it against the original. Even the original file released by authorities had already been partially redacted before the public ever heard it. Account numbers, phone numbers, identifying metadata, all stripped, which means a clean, unaltered, complete original recording has never been publicly available. Not once. 2 witnesses reportedly told media outlets they saw Nolan still standing on Horn Island after his friend's boat had already left. If that's true, it means Nolan was not on that vessel at all when any of those background voices were recorded. This is where we stand now. A case with 2 autopsies, no official cause of death, a grand jury waiting, and a family that refuses to let the story go quiet. And now, the girl at the center of the mystery has finally spoken. Why Katie stayed silent. For nearly 2 weeks, her name was the only thing anyone knew about her. Katie, that was it. No last name, no photo, no public statement, no interview. Just a first name that kept appearing in every major update about the Nolan Wells case. Who is Katie? Within days of Nolan's body being recovered, reports started circulating that he'd been seen talking to a young woman on Horn Island shortly before he disappeared. His friends told investigators that Nolan chose to stay on the island with a girl he'd been talking to, rather than leave with him on their boat. That girl was only ever referred to as Katie. Then came the identification. Multiple outlets reported that Katie was 19-year-old Katie McCormick, a student from a town east of Ocean Springs, where Nolan lived. She was on Horn Island that day with a different group of friends. She was not missing. She had left the island safely earlier that afternoon on a separate boat and had been reached with the entire time, that Yahoo +6. But even after her identity became public, Katie herself did not speak, not to reporters, not on social media, not in any on-record statement that investigators or the public could directly access. Why people wanted to hear from her. Here's why her silence mattered so much. Katie was reportedly one of the last people to see Nolan Wells alive. If investigators could confirm exactly what happened during that final conversation on the island, it could unlight the timeline of his last known minutes. It could clarify whether he was supposed to return on the boat with his friends. It could explain why he was left behind, and it could potentially rule in or rule out certain theories about what happened to him after that conversation ended. But there was a problem. The accounts didn't match. Nolan's friends told one version, that he voluntarily stayed on the island with Katie, refusing to leave with him even as their boat was taking on water. Katie's side, relayed through her family, told a different version, that she had a conversation with Nolan and assumed he was getting ready to get on the boat he came out on. She said goodbye. She left. She did not expect him to stay on the island. 2 versions of the same final hour, both coming from people who were there, and only one side had spoken publicly. How social media kept mentioning her. The internet did what the internet always does. Within days, Katie's name was everywhere. TikTok theories, YouTube breakdowns, Reddit threads, Twitter debates, Facebook groups dedicated to the case. Every major update video about Nolan Wells included a segment about the mystery girl. Some creators speculated about her relationship with Nolan. Others questioned why she hadn't spoken. Some accused her of hiding something. Others defended her, saying she was being unfairly targeted. Screenshots circulated claiming she had posted something on social media. None of them were verified. Rumors spread that she was missing too. That was false. Her mother, Gracie McCormick, confirmed publicly that her daughter was never missing and had been home safely the entire time. But even after that clarification, the speculation continued because Katie herself still had not spoken. And in a case this high profile, silence is often interpreted as hiding something, whether that's fair or not. Why her silence became part of the discussion. This is where the story gets complicated. In any death investigation, witness statements matter, especially witness statements from people who are among the last to see the deceased alive. Investigators interview witnesses separately. They compare accounts. They look for inconsistencies. They follow up on discrepancies. That's standard procedure. But when a witness does not speak publicly and their account is only relayed secondhand through family or investigators, it creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, speculation grows. People start asking questions like, why hasn't she spoken? What is she afraid of? Is she being advised not to talk? Does her account contradict what others are saying? In this case, those questions were especially loud because of conflicting versions already in circulation. Nolan's friends had given their account publicly, multiple times, on podcasts, in interviews, on social media. But Katie had not. Her side of the story was only known to what her mother told reporters and what investigators reportedly heard in private interviews. That imbalance fueled the discussion. Some people argued Katie was being unfairly pressured. Others argued she had an obligation to speak. Some said she was protecting herself. Others said she was protecting someone else. Nobody knew for sure because she had not spoken. The pressure builds. As the case moved toward a grand jury referral, the pressure on every witness intensified. The FBI was now involved, investigating threats against people connected to the case. The family had hired Ben Crump. Both autopsies were still pending. Roughly 60 witnesses had already been interviewed, and Katie's account, whatever it was, remained one of the biggest unanswered questions in the entire investigation. Then, finally, the silence ended. Katie spoke, not in a press conference, not in a televised interview, but she gave her account. And what she reportedly told investigators does not match what Nolan's friends have been saying publicly. And that's where this story takes a turn that investigators are now paying very close attention to. Katie finally speaks. This is the moment the entire case has been waiting for. After nearly 2 weeks of silence, Katie has finally given her account to investigators. And what she said does not match what Nolan's friends have been telling police from the very beginning. What exactly she said? Here's the core of Katie's statement, broken down line by line. First, she confirmed she was with Nolan on Horn Island that day. They spent time together on the beach. They talked. This much is not disputed. Everyone agrees on this part. Second, she said they parted ways that afternoon. That specific phrase matters. Parted ways is what her mother, Gracie McCormick, used when she went public on Facebook. It's the phrase Katie's family has stood by. It describes two people separating and each going toward their own plan. Third, and this is a critical part, Katie says Nolan told her he was going back to get on the boat with his friends. He was going to rejoin his group. He was leaving the island with them. That was his plan when they said goodbye. Fourth, she has no knowledge of what happened to him after they parted ways. She got on her own boat, left the island safely, went home, and was reachable the entire time. She never saw him get on the boat with his friends. She assumed he would, based on what he told her, but she did not witness it. Why she said it? This wasn't a casual conversation. Katie spoke to investigators. She spoke to Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, face to face. She spoke through her family's public statements. And according to Ben Crump, who represents the Wells family, her account has been consistent from the very beginning. It has not changed. Why go on record? Because her name was everywhere. Because rumors were spreading that she was missing too. Because strangers were building theories about her. Without knowing a single fact, her mother had to step in and say publicly, "My daughter is safe. My daughter was with Nolan that day, and my daughter has no idea what happened to him after they parted ways." This wasn't about hiding. This was about correcting the record. Was it emotional? Was it defensive? By every account, Katie's statement was factual, not emotional. She didn't give a press conference. She didn't do a televised interview. She didn't post a long explanation on social media. She gave her account to investigators. She met with Nolan's family. She answered questions, and she stuck to what she knows. There's no indication she was defensive. In fact, her family's posture has been the opposite. They have been in direct contact with Nolan's family about the situation. They have not distanced themselves from the story. They have placed Katie inside it, on the record, confirming she was there, confirming she spent time with him, confirming she has no knowledge of what happened after. That's not the behavior of someone with something to hide. People with something to hide do not usually open a channel to the grieving family at the center of a storm. And a grieving family does not usually keep that channel open with someone they believe wronged their son. Did she answer rumors? Yes, directly. The biggest rumor was that she was missing, that she had vanished, that she might be connected to whatever happened to Nolan. That was false. Her mother confirmed publicly that Katie was never missing. She left the island safely on a different boat. She had been reachable the entire time. Another rumor was that she was avoiding speaking, that she was being advised not to talk, that she was hiding something. But according to Ben Crump, Katie has been consistent from the beginning. She has spoken to investigators. She has spoken to Nolan's family. Her account has not wavered. Did she avoid certain questions? Here's where it gets complicated. Katie did not avoid questions she could answer. She confirmed she was with Nolan. She confirmed they parted ways. She confirmed what he told her about his plan to rejoin his friends. She confirmed she has no knowledge of what happened after. But she cannot answer the question nobody can answer. What happened to Nolan after they said goodbye? She didn't see him get on the boat. She didn't see him after they parted ways. She doesn't know what happened to him in the hours that followed. That's not avoidance. That's the limit of her knowledge. The contradiction that changes everything. Now here's why investigators are paying close attention. Katie's account directly contradicts what Nolan's friends have told investigators. According to Katie, Nolan told her he was going back to get on the boat with his friends. He was leaving the island with them. That was his plan. According to Nolan's friends, Nolan told them he was going to stay on the island with Katie. He chose to stay behind. He would find his own way back. Both of those statements cannot be true. One of them is wrong. And as of now, nobody with the authority to sort that out has done so. Why this matters? This isn't a minor discrepancy. This is the single most important contradiction in the entire case. If Katie's version holds up, something happened in the narrow window between Nolan announcing his intention to leave and the boat actually pulling away from Horn Island without him. Something interrupted whatever exit plan he had. Nobody has explained what. If the friend's version holds up, then Nolan made a deliberate, fully conscious choice to remain alone on a remote barrier island as his only ride home motored away, which raises a completely different and completely darker question about what happened to an 18-year-old alone on a barrier island for the hours that followed. This is not a theory pulled from a comment thread. This is not a rumor stitched together from screenshots. This is a direct on-the-record contradiction between two people who were both physically present, describing Nolan's last documented words in two ways that cannot be forced into agreement. And as of tonight, no one, not the family, not the district attorney, not the sheriff's office, not the FBI, not anyone with the authority to end this question, has resolved it. The specific kind of pain. There is a specific kind of pain in that specific uncertainty. Grief itself has a shape. Grief is the loss of a person you loved. But this is a different loss on top of the first one. It is a loss of ever knowing your own son's final choice. Did he choose to stay, or did he intend to come home? For most families, that is a question answered easily from a dozen small confirmations that never register as important until they suddenly are. For Christine and Elmore, has become the single hardest unanswered question in the entire case. And no one has been able to hand them a real answer yet. This is where the case now stands. 2 accounts, 1 island, 1 missing piece of time, and they cannot both be true. What changed? This is the moment the entire case pivots. Katie's statement didn't just add a new witness account. It rewrote the entire framework investigators and the public have been using to understand what happened on Horn Island that day. Here's what changed: the timeline. Before Katie spoke, the timeline looked like this. Nolan arrives on Horn Island. He spends time with his friends. He meets Katie. He decides to stay on the island with her. His friends leave without him. He remained behind. Something happens in the hours that follow. After Katie spoke, the timeline looks like this. Nolan arrives on Horn Island. He spends time with his friends. He meets Katie. He tells Katie he is going back to get on the boat with his friends. They part ways. He intends to leave the island with his group, but he does not get on the boat. Something happens in a narrow window between that conversation and the boat pulling away. That narrow window is now the most important unanswered question in the entire case. The witness accounts. Before Katie spoke, investigators had one set of witness accounts from Nolan's friends. They said Nolan chose to stay on the island. They said he was with Katie. They said he would find his own way back. After Katie spoke, investigators now have 2 sets of witness accounts that directly contradict each other. One side says Nolan told him he was staying. The other side says Nolan told her he was going to get on the boat. Both of those statements cannot be true. One of them is wrong. And now investigators have to figure out which one. This is not a minor inconsistency. This is the single most important contradiction in the entire case. The Horn Island sequence. Before Katie spoke, the sequence on Horn Island was understood as a linear story. Nolan meets Katie, decides to stay, and remains behind while his friends leave. After Katie spoke, the sequence has a new critical moment inserted. The conversation where Nolan announces his intention to leave. That moment changes everything. Because if Nolan told Katie he was going back to get on the boat, then something happened between that moment and the boat actually leaving that either changed his plan or prevented him from executing it. What was that something? Did he change his mind and decide to stay after all? Did someone or something interrupt his plan to leave? Did he intend to leave but never actually get on the boat? Nobody has answered these questions. Not the family, not the investigators, not the friends, not Katie. Public assumptions. Before Katie spoke, the public had built a set of assumptions based on what they had heard. Many people assumed Nolan made a deliberate, fully conscious choice to stay on the island, that he knew what he was doing, that he was comfortable with the plan, that he would find his own way home. After Katie spoke, those assumptions no longer hold. If Nolan told Katie he was going back to get on the boat, then he did not make a deliberate choice to stay. He made a deliberate choice to leave. Something else happened that kept him on the island. That shifts the entire framework of how the public should understand what happened. It moves the question from why did Nolan choose to stay to what happened that prevented Nolan from leaving. Those are 2 completely different questions, and they lead to 2 completely different sets of possible answers. Social media theories. Before Katie spoke, social media was full of theories built on incomplete information. Some theories focus on the idea that Nolan was abandoned, that he was left behind intentionally, that his friends knew he was in danger and did nothing. Other theories focus on the idea that Nolan was in a relationship with Katie, that he chose to stay with her, that their connection was the reason he remained on the island. Still other theories focus on the possibility that something criminal happened, that the audio, the threats, the FBI involvement all pointed to something darker than an accident. After Katie spoke, all of those theories have to be recalibrated. If Nolan told Katie he was going back to get on the boat, then he was not deliberately choosing to stay with her. He was planning to leave. The relationship theory no longer explains his presence on the island after his friends left. If he intended to leave but never actually got on the boat, then something happened in that narrow window that either changed his plan or prevented him from executing it. That shifts the focus from abandonment to interruption. And if the focus is on interruption, then the question becomes, what interrupted him? The title payoff. This is why the title of this video matters. Katie finally speaks about Nolan Wells. What she revealed changes everything. It changes everything because it changes the timeline. It changes the witness accounts. It changes the Horn Island sequence. It changes the public assumptions. It changes the social media theories. Most importantly, it changes the single most important question in the entire case. Before Katie spoke, the question was, why did Nolan choose to stay on Horn Island? After Katie spoke, the question is, what happened between Nolan telling Katie he wasn't get on the boat and the boat actually leaving without him? That is a different question, and it requires a different answer. Nobody has given that answer yet. Not the family, not the investigators, not the friends, not Katie. And until someone does, this case will remain exactly what it is tonight. A mystery with two accounts, one island, one missing piece of time, and two stories that cannot both be true. What matches existing evidence? Now comes the moment of truth. Katie has spoken. Her account is on record. But how does her statement line up against everything else we know about what happened on Horn Island that day? Let's compare, line by line, Katie's statement versus Sheriff's statements. Sheriff John Ledbetter has been clear from beginning. Nolan's friends left Horn Island and went back without him. That is the official position of the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Does Katie's statement match this? Yes, on this point, it does. Katie says she left the island safely on her own boat. She did not see Nolan after they parted ways. She has no knowledge of whether he got on the boat with his friends. The sheriff's statement confirms a friend's boat left without Nolan. Katie's statement confirms she was not on that boat and did not witness what happened in Nolan after they said goodbye. So far, so aligned. But here's where it gets complicated. The sheriff has also confirmed that Nolan's friends told investigators he chose to stay on the island, that he was not supposed to get on the boat, that he would find his own way home. Katie says the opposite. She says Nolan told her he was going back to get on the boat. He was leaving the island with his friends. That was his plan. Does this match? No, this is a direct contradiction. Katie's statement versus FBI role. The FBI has confirmed they are investigating interstate threats made against individuals connected to the case. They are not leading the underlying death investigation. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office remains a lead agency. Does Katie's statement affect the FBI's role? Not directly. The FBI's involvement is focused on threats, not on determining the cause of death. But Katie's statement does affect a broader investigation that the FBI is supporting. If Katie's account holds up, it changes the timeline of Nolan's final hours. That changes the context in which any threats might have been made. That changes the focus of the investigation overall. So while the FBI's formal role remains unchanged, the substance of what they're investigating has shifted. Katie's statement versus dispatch timeline. The dispatch timeline is clear. The boat's emergency call was made around 4 p.m. on July 4th. The bilge pump had failed. Water was rising inside the hole. The group was struggling to stay afloat. GPS data shows the boat left Horn Island at 4:31 p.m. It returned to the original departure dock at 6:06 p.m. Does Katie's statement match this timeline? Yes. Katie says she parted ways with Nolan in the afternoon. She left the island safely on her own boat. She was not on the vessel that made the emergency call. The dispatch timeline confirms the boat left the island around 4:30 p.m. Katie's statement confirms she was not on that boat. She had already left. So far, so aligned. But here's the question that remains unanswered. If Nolan told Katie he was going back to get on the boat, why was he not on the boat when it left at 4:31 p.m.? Did he change his mind? Did something prevent him from getting on? Did he intend to board but never actually made it? Nobody has answered these questions. Katie's statement versus witness timeline. Multiple witnesses have been interviewed, roughly 60, according to public reports. Some witnesses told investigators they saw Nolan still standing on Horn Island after the boat had already left. Does Katie's statement match these witness accounts? Yes. Katie says she parted ways with Nolan in the afternoon. She left the island. She did not see him get on the boat. Witnesses who say they saw Nolan on the island after the boat left her consistent with Katie's account that she did not see him board. So far, so aligned. But here's the complication. If witnesses saw no one on the island after the boat left, And Katie says he told her he was going to get on the boat. Then something happened between that conversation and the boat's departure that either changed his plan or prevented him from executing it. What was that something? Nobody has answered this question. Katie's statement versus boat timeline. The boat timeline is documented through GPS data. The boat left the dock at 9:56 a.m. It arrived at Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. It departed the island at 4:31 p.m. It returned to the dock at 6:06 p.m. Does Katie's statement match this timeline? Yes. Katie says she was on Horn Island in the afternoon. She parted ways with Nolan. She left the island on her own boat. The boat timeline confirms a vessel left the island at 4:31 p.m. Katie's statement confirms she was not on that boat. So far, so aligned. But again, the critical question remains. If Nolan told Katie he was going to get on the boat, why was he not on the boat when it left at 4:31 p.m.? Katie's statement versus known evidence. What is the known evidence in this case? The body was recovered on July 6th. 2 autopsies have been conducted. Both list cause and manner of death as undetermined. The case is headed toward a grand jury referral. Roughly 60 witnesses have been interviewed. The FBI is investigating interstate threats. Does Katie's statement match this known evidence? Yes. Katie's statement does not contradict any of these facts. She does not claim to know the cause of death. She does not claim to know what happened to Nolan after they parted ways. She does not claim to have information that would change the autopsy findings. She simply provides her account of the last conversation she had with Nolan. The bottom line, here's what matches. Katie's statement matches the sheriff's confirmation that the boat left without Nolan. Katie's statement matches a dispatch timeline that shows the boat left around 4:30 p.m. Katie's statement matches witness accounts that placed no one on the island after the boat left. Katie's statement matches the known evidence that the case remains open and undetermined. Here's what contradicts. Katie's statement contradicts what Nolan's friends told investigators about his intention to stay on the island. Here's what remains unexplained. What happened between Nolan telling Katie he was going to get on the boat and the boat actually leaving without him? Nobody has answered this question. Not the family, not the investigators, not the friends, not Katie. And until someone does, this case will remain exactly what is tonight. A mystery with 2 accounts, 1 island, 1 missing piece of time, and 2 stories that cannot both be true. What Katie did not reveal. This is the part that matters just as much as what she did say. Katie has spoken. Her account is on record. But there are massive, critical, unanswered questions that her statement does not touch. And until those questions are answered, this case remains exactly what it is tonight. A mystery with 2 accounts, 1 island, 1 missing piece of time, and 2 stories that cannot both be true. Here's what Katie did not reveal. The cause of death. Katie did not reveal the cause of death. Nobody has. The state autopsy has been completed, but officials have not publicly released the final cause of death. The independent autopsy arranged through Ben Crump came back with both cause and manner of death listed as undetermined. Pending further investigation, Dr. Roger Mitchell, the forensic pathologist who conducted the private exam, was clear about why. Advanced decomposition and the fact that the body had already undergone a prior official examination significantly limited what could be conclusively established from a second procedure. Katie cannot answer this question. She does not know what happened to Nolan after they parted ways. She does not know how he died. She does not know whether it was an accident, whether it was intentional, whether it was something else entirely. And neither does anyone else with the authority to say so publicly. The final autopsy results. Katie did not reveal the final autopsy results because she does not have them. The state autopsy results will remain sealed until after grand jury reviews the evidence. That is the official timeline. The district attorney has confirmed this directly to the family. Once the Jackson County Sheriff's Office finishes its investigation, the case will be turned over to a grand jury. The grand jury will hear the evidence, and only then may the autopsy results be released publicly. Katie has no access to this information. She is a witness, not an investigator. She is not part of the legal team. She is not part of the sheriff's office. She is not part of the district attorney's office. She does not have the autopsy results. The grand jury. Katie did not reveal what will happen at the grand jury because she does not know. Nobody does. A grand jury referral is standard procedure in Jackson County for unnatural or suspicious deaths. It does not by itself mean criminal charges are coming. The district attorney has stated directly that authorities have not indicated this is being treated as a criminal investigation at this stage. What it does mean is that a body of 15 to 25 citizens will eventually sit down, hear the evidence, and decide whether what happened to Nolan Wells warrants an indictment. Katie may be called to testify. She may not. Her account may be part of the evidence presented. It may not. Nobody outside the grand jury process knows what will happen there. The phone examination. Katie did not reveal what is on Nolan's phone because she does not have access to it. Nolan's phone is about to undergo a coordinated joint review. The family's own independent investigators and law enforcement will examine its contents together for the first time. This has not happened yet. The joint phone inspection is agreed, but has not yet been conducted. What is on that phone? What texts were sent? What calls were made? What apps were used? What location data exists? What photos or videos were taken? What messages were deleted? Nobody knows publicly. Not the family, not the investigators, not Katie. The exact final movements. Katie did not reveal Nolan's exact final movements because she does not know them. Here's what we know from GPS data and witness accounts. The boat left the dock at 9:56 a.m. The boat arrived at Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. Nolan was last seen alive on the island around 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. The boat departed the island at 4:31 p.m. The boat returned to the dock at 6:06 p.m. Nolan's body was found at 8:45 a.m. on July 6th, just offshore near the northwest end of Horn Island. Here's what we do not know. What happened between approximately 3 p.m. and 4:30 p.m.? What happened between 4:30 p.m. and when his body was found 2 days later? This is a critical 6-hour gap that investigators have called a gaping hole in the story. No photos, no videos, no eyewitness accounts have surfaced from that window of time, despite the island still having people on it and daylight remaining. Katie cannot fill this gap. She was not there. She left the island safely on her own boat. She does not know what happened to Nolan after they parted ways. The last communications. Katie did not reveal what Nolan's last communications were because she does not have access to his phone or his accounts. What text did he send after he and Katie parted ways? What calls did he make? What apps did he use? What location data was recorded? What messages were deleted? Nobody knows publicly. Not the family, not the investigators, not Katie. The timeline gaps. Katie did not reveal what happened in the timeline gaps because she does not know. The most significant unanswered period extends from approximately 5 p.m. until shortly after 11 p.m. on July 4th. That is when Nolan was last seen alive and when a body was found 2 days later. Nobody has accounted for those hours. Not the family, not the investigators, not the friends, not Katie. The bottom line, here's what Katie did reveal. She confirmed she was with Nolan on Horn Island that day. She confirmed they parted ways in the afternoon. She confirmed Nolan told her he was going back to get on the boat with his friends. She confirmed she has no knowledge of what happened to him after they parted ways. Here's what Katie did not reveal. The cause of death, the final autopsy results, what will happen at the grand jury, what is on Nolan's phone, Nolan's exact final movements, Nolan's last communications, what happened in the timeline gaps. These are the missing pieces, and until they are filled, this case will remain exactly what it is tonight. A mystery with 2 accounts, 1 island, 1 missing piece of time, and 2 stories that cannot both be true. Public reaction. The moment Katie's statement became public, the reaction was immediate, and it was divided. Why her statement immediately divided viewers? Here's why. Katie's account directly contradicts what Nolan's friends have been telling investigators from the very beginning. That creates a binary choice for anyone following this case. Either Katie is telling the truth and Nolan's friends are wrong, or Nolan's friends are telling the truth and Katie is wrong. There is no middle ground on this specific question. And when 2 sides of a story do not match in a death investigation, people pick a side. They always do. Why some people believe her, Here's why a significant portion of the public has accepted Katie's account. First, she has been consistent. According to Ben Crump, who represents the Wells family, Katie's account has not changed from the beginning. She has spoken to investigators. She has spoken to Nolan's family. She has spoken through her family's public statements, and her story has remained the same throughout. Second, she has not distanced herself from the story. She met with Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, face to face. Her family has maintained direct contact with the Wells family about the situation. That is not the behavior of someone with something to hide. People with something to hide do not usually open a channel to the grieving family at the center of a storm. And a grieving family does not usually keep that channel open with someone they believe wronged their son. Third, her account aligns with witness statements that placed Nolan on the island after the boat left. If Nolan told Katie he was going to get on the boat, but witnesses saw him still on the island after the boat departed, that suggests something happened in the narrow window between that conversation and the boat's actual departure. Fourth, she has not made any claims she cannot back up. She has not claimed to know what happened in Nolan after they parted ways. She has not claimed to have access to autopsy results. She has not claimed to have information that would change the investigation. She has simply provided her account of the last conversation she had with him. Why others remain skeptical. Here's why another significant portion of the public remains skeptical to YouTube +1 CBC +6. First, her account directly contradicts what Nolan's friends have told investigators. Multiple friends have given consistent accounts that Nolan chose to stay on the island. They have said this publicly, on podcasts, in interviews, on social media. Second, she is not the only person whose account matters. There were other people on that island that day. There were other people on that boat. There were other witnesses who may have seen Nolan after he and Katie parted ways. Their accounts have not all been made public. Third, the case has become deeply polarized along lines that go beyond the facts. For some Black Americans, the case has sparked painful discussions about navigating predominantly white spaces and racism. For others, the case is about jumping to conclusions before all the evidence is known. And for still others, the case is about the dangers of rushing to judgment in a high-profile death investigation. Fourth, Katie's account does not answer the most critical question. What happened between Nolan telling her he was going to get on the boat and the boat actually leaving without him? Until that question is answered, skepticism will remain. How investigators usually separate public opinion from evidence. Here's how this works in a standard death investigation. Investigators do not make decisions based on public opinion. They do not make decisions based on social media theories. They do not make decisions based on viral audio clips or YouTube breakdowns. They make decisions based on evidence, physical evidence, witness testimony that can be corroborated, timeline data that can be verified, forensic analysis that can be replicated. When two witness accounts contradict each other, investigators do not pick a side based on which one is more popular. They look for corroborating evidence. They look for timeline data. They look for physical evidence. They look for other witnesses who can confirm one account over the other. In this case, that process is ongoing. Roughly 60 witnesses have already been interviewed. Nolan's phone is about to undergo a coordinated joint review. The case is headed toward a grand jury referral. The state autopsy has been completed but will not be released publicly until after the grand jury reviews the evidence. The independent autopsy came back with both cause and manner of death listed as undetermined. Pending further investigation, the FBI is investigating interstate threats made against individuals connected to the case. None of this process is driven by public opinion. It is driven by evidence. The bottom line, here's where we stand. Public is divided. Some people believe Katie, others remain skeptical. But the investigation is not driven by which side has more supporters. It is driven by what the evidence shows. And until that evidence is presented publicly, the public will remain divided. That is how these cases work. And that is how this case will remain until the grand jury reviews the evidence and the autopsy results are released publicly. Investigator perspective. Now think like the FBI. If investigators receive Katie's statement today, what happens next? Not speculation, not theory, not public opinion. Process. What would they verify? First, They would verify the timeline. Katie says she parted ways with Nolan in the afternoon. She left the island safe on her own boat. She did not see him get on the boat with his friends. GPS data shows the boat left the dock at 9:06 a.m. It arrived at Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. It departed the island at 4:31 p.m. It returned to the dock at 6:06 p.m. Investigators would cross-reference Katie's statement against this GPS data. Did her boat leave before or after Nolan's friend's boat? What time did she depart? What time did she arrive back at the dock? Can her account be corroborated by GPS data from her own vessel? Phone records. Second, they would obtain phone records. Call detail records or CDRs contain the following information: which number placed and received each call, at which tower the call began and ended, the exact time and duration of each call, and the latitude and longitude of each involved tower. Investigators would obtain CDRs for Katie's phone. They would obtain CDRs for Nolan's phone. They would obtain CDRs for the phones of Nolan's friends who were on the boat. They would look for the following: what calls were made between Katie and Nolan on July 4th? What texts were sent between them? What towers did their phones connect to while on Horn Island? What time did Katie's phone stop pinging towers on Horn Island? What time did Nolan's phone stop pinging towers on Horn Island? Were there any calls or texts after they parted ways? This data can be obtained from cellular providers through subpoenas and search warrants. Historical tower information, cell site data, text messaging content, data connections, and location-based services all require a search warrant. GPS and location data. Third, they would analyze GPS and location data. In addition to call detail records, investigators can recover historical location information on phones in several ways, including to use or store GPS coordinates of phone or information indicating to which cell towers the phone connected. If Katie's phone has GPS data stored, investigators would extract it. They would plot her movements on Horn Island. They would compare her location data against Nolan's location data. They would look for the following: where on the island were they when they parted ways? What direction did Katie go after they separated? What direction did Nolan go after they separated? Did Nolan's location data show him moving toward the boat dock? Did his location data show him boarding the boat? Or did his location data show him remaining on the island after the boat departed? Witnesses. Fourth, they would re-interview witnesses. Roughly 60 witnesses have already been interviewed. But when a new statement comes in that contradicts existing witness accounts, investigators go back. They re-interview. They ask new questions. They look for corroboration. They would ask the following: who saw Katie and Nolan together on the island? Who saw them part ways? Who saw Nolan after they parted ways? Who saw Nolan get on the boat or not get on the boat? Who saw Katie leave the island? For witnesses, the cognitive approach involves 5 steps: introduction, open-ended narration, follow-up questions, review and closing, digital evidence. Fifth, they would examine all digital evidence. Investigators immediately should collect all electronic devices the victim could have operated, including those containing the individual's social media, all forms of communication, and every type of computer usage, such as internet searches and financial transactions. Nolan's phone is about to undergo a coordinated joint review. The family's own independent investigators and law enforcement will examine its contents together for the first time. They would look for the following: what texts were sent after Katie and Nolan parted ways? What calls were made? What apps were used? What location data was recorded? What photos or videos were taken? What messages were deleted? Boat movement. 6. They would verify boat movement. GPS data shows the boat left the dock at 9:56 a.m. It arrived at Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. It departed the island at 4:31 p.m. It returned to the dock at 6:06 p.m. Investigators would verify this data against witness statements. They would verify it against the dispatch timeline. They would verify it against the emergency call made around 4 p.m. They would look for the following: what time did the boat actually depart the island? Was no one on the boat when it departed? If not, why not? What does the emergency call reveal about the boat's condition at the time of departure? The bottom line: here's what investigators do. They verify, they cross-reference, They re-interview, they examine, they analyze. They do not speculate, they do not theorize. They do not make decisions based on public opinion. They make decisions based on evidence. And that is how this case will be resolved. Not by public opinion, by evidence. Bigger picture. Zoom out. Katie's statement is important. It changes the timeline. It changes the witness accounts. It changes the Horn Island sequence. It changes the public assumptions. It changes the social media theories. But it is still only one piece. The investigation is much larger. The autopsy. 2 autopsies have been conducted on Nolan Wells. Neither has produced a final conclusion for his family. The state autopsy remains pending public release. It will not be made public until after a grand jury reviews the evidence. The independent autopsy arranged through Ben Crump and conducted by forensic pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell came back with both cause and manner of death listed as undetermined, pending further investigation. Mitchell was clear about why: advanced decomposition, and the fact that the body had already undergone a prior official examination significantly limited what could be conclusively established from a second procedure. Undetermined is not an answer. It is a door that is still open, and Nolan's family has made clear they will not accept it as a final destination. The grand jury. The investigation is now confirmed to be heading toward a grand jury referral once it concludes. This is standard procedure in Jackson County for unnatural or suspicious deaths. It does not by itself mean criminal charges are coming. The district attorney has stated directly that authorities have not indicated this is being treated as a criminal investigation at this stage. What it does mean is that a body of 15 to 25 citizens will eventually sit down, hear the evidence, and decide whether what happened to Nolan Wells warrants an indictment. Katie's statement may be part of that evidence. It may not. Nobody outside the grand jury process knows. The phone. Nolan's phone is about to undergo a coordinated joint review. The family's own independent investigators and law enforcement will examine its contents together for the first time. This has not happened yet. What is on that phone? What texts were sent? What calls were made? What apps were used? What location data exists? What photos or videos were taken? What messages were deleted? Nobody knows publicly. Not the family, not the investigators, not Katie. The witnesses, roughly 60 witnesses, have already been interviewed. That is a lot of people. But not all of them have spoken publicly. Some witness accounts have been reported, others have not. Katie's statement is one witness account. There are 59 others. Some of those may corroborate her account, some may not. Nobody knows publicly which witnesses said what. The timeline gaps. The most significant unanswered period extends from approximately 5 p.m. until shortly after 11 p.m. on July 4th. That is when Nolan was last seen alive and when his body was found 2 days later at WX+1. Nobody has accounted for those hours. Not the family, not the investigators, not the friends, not Katie. This is a critical 6-hour gap that investigators have caught a gaping hole in the story. No photos, no videos, no eyewitness accounts have surfaced from that window of time, despite the island still having people on it and daylight remaining. The FBI has confirmed they are investigating interstate threats made against individuals connected to the case. They are not leading the underlying death investigation. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office remains the lead agency. The Bureau's role is focused on protecting people connected to this case from serious threats that have gone beyond Mississippi. That is not a minor development. But it is also not the same as the FBI taking over the death investigation itself. The bottom line, Katie's statement may be one important piece, but it is still only one piece. The investigation is much larger. 2 autopsies, a grand jury, a phone examination, roughly 60 witnesses, a 6-hour gap, an FBI threat investigation. Every process in this investigation is still running. None of them are finished. And until they are, this case will remain exactly what it is tonight. A mystery with 2 accounts, 1 island, 1 missing piece of time, and 2 stories that cannot both be true. Ending. The investigation continues. That is the only thing that can be said with certainty tonight. Authorities still have unanswered questions. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office still has unanswered questions. Roughly 60 witnesses have been interviewed. But not all of them have spoken publicly. Some witness accounts have been reported, others have not. The most significant unanswered period extends from approximately 5 p.m. until shortly after 11 p.m. on July 4th. That is when Nolan was last seen alive and when his body was found 2 days later. Nobody has accounted for those hours. Not the family, not the investigators, not the friends, not Katie. This is the critical 6-hour gap that investigators have called a gaping hole in the story. No photos, no videos, no eyewitness accounts have surfaced from that window of time, despite the island still having people on it and daylight remaining. The family still seeks answers. Nolan's family still seeks answers. 2 autopsies have been conducted. Neither has produced a final conclusion. The state autopsy remains pending public release. The independent autopsy came back with both cause and manner of death listed as undetermined, pending further investigation. Undetermined is not an answer. It is a door that is still open, and Nolan's family has made clear they will not accept it as a final destination. They have hired Ben Crump. They have called for a thorough, independent investigation. They have met with the district attorney. They have demanded transparency. And they have said plainly that the damage has already been done by early conclusions that shape the narrative around their son's death. New evidence could change understanding. New evidence could change understanding. Nolan's phone is about to undergo a coordinated joint review. The family's own independent investigators and law enforcement will examine its contents together for the first time. What is on that phone? What texts were sent? What calls were made? What apps were used? What location data exists? What photos or videos were taken? What messages were deleted? Nobody knows publicly. Not the family, not the investigators, not Katie. The case is headed toward a grand jury referral. What evidence will be presented there? Nobody knows publicly. Not the family, not the investigators, not Katie. We will continue following. We will continue following confirmed developments, not speculation, not theory, not public opinion. Evidence, official statements, verified information. That is the only way this story can be told responsibly. The bottom line, tonight we know this. Katie has spoken. Her account does not match what Nolan's friends have told investigators. That contradiction changes the timeline. It changes the witness accounts. It changes the Horn Island sequence. It changes the public assumptions. It changes the social media theories. But does not answer the most critical question. What happened to Nolan Wells after he and Katie parted ways? Nobody has answered that question. Not the family, not the investigators, not the friends, not Katie. And until someone does, this case will remain exactly what it is tonight. A mystery with 2 accounts, 1 island, 1 missing piece of time, and 2 stories that cannot both be true. We will continue following every confirmed development as it arrives. And we will bring it to you the moment the facts are actually in, not a second before.